First contact incident. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the ESS Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing an anomaly that shouldn't exist. The exploration vessel had been charting the edges of known space when their sensors detected something impossible, a perfectly spherical void in space, approximately 20 kilometers in diameter. Analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Park announced, his fingers dancing across the sensor console. The void appears to be artificially generated. It's absorbing all our standard scanning frequencies. Chen straightened her uniform, a habit from her academy days that surfaced whenever she faced the unknown. Send out the first contact package on all frequencies. Standard protocol. The first contact package was humanity's greeting card to the cosmos, a carefully crafted message containing mathematical constants, basic scientific principles, and cultural information designed to demonstrate peaceful intentions. They had never had the chance to use it before. The response came faster than anyone expected. The void shimmered, its perfect spherical shape distorting for a moment before multiple objects emerge. Ships, if you could call them that. They looked more like crystalline structures, each one refracting light in ways that made them seem both solid and ethereal. 7 vessels detected, Park reported, his voice steady despite the tension. Their energy signatures are massive, Captain. Nothing like we've ever seen. Chen activated the ship-wide comm. All hands, first contact protocols. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The alien vessels arranged themselves in a pattern around the Pathfinder, maintaining a distance that could be interpreted as either respectful or tactical. Their crystalline surfaces pulsed with colors that seemed to follow a pattern, perhaps their form of communication. They're transmitting something, Communications Officer Rivera announced. It's music? No, more like harmonics. The computer is having trouble processing it. Chen made a decision. Send them our linguistic database. Let's give them the tools to talk to us. Hours passed as both sides exchanged data. The aliens, who called themselves the Luminary, proved to be quick learners. Their first translated message was brief but clear. You travel wrong paths. Space bends. Why force straight? It took the human crew several more hours to understand. The Luminary didn't travel through space like humans did. They folded it, creating the void they had detected. Their entire civilization existed in these spatial pockets, opening them only to explore or communicate. The revelation shook the scientific community's understanding of physics, but it was what happened next that would change everything. A junior officer, excited by the breakthrough in communication, activated the Pathfinder's experimental quantum sensors without authorization. To the Luminary, this was equivalent to pointing a weapon at their ships. Their response was immediate and devastating. The crystalline vessels pulsed with brilliant light, and suddenly the Pathfinder systems began shutting down, not through any form of attack, but because the laws of physics themselves seemed to be changing in the space around them. All systems failing, Park shouted. It's like they're rewriting local space-time. Chen watched as her ship's hull began to crystallize, the same ethereal patterns as the alien vessels spreading across their surface. She had seconds to make a decision that would affect all of humanity. Broadcast on all frequencies, she ordered. Send everything. Our history, our struggles, our achievements. Show them who we are. The Pathfinder's databases emptied into space, carrying humanity's story to the aliens who were about to pass judgment on them. The crystallization stopped, mere meters from the bridge. The Luminary's response came through clearly this time. Your species is young. You force paths through space like children breaking ice, but we see your potential. You will learn. It wasn't first contact as humanity had imagined it. They had discovered they weren't alone in the universe, only to learn they were centuries, perhaps millennia behind in their understanding of it. But in that moment of vulnerability, humanity had shown its greatest strength, the ability to learn, to adapt, and to turn potential enemies into teachers. As the crystallization receded, and the Pathfinder systems came back online. Chen realized this wasn't just first contact. It was humanity's first step into a much larger universe, one where the laws of physics themselves were tools to be shaped by sufficiently advanced minds. The real question was, were they ready for what came next? The human response. Admiral Marcus Zhang stood before the United Earth Council, the holographic recording of the Pathfinder's encounter playing behind him. The crystalline ships of the luminary cast ethereal shadows across his weathered face as he addressed the assembled leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing isn't just first contact. It's a fundamental challenge to everything we thought we knew about physics. He gestured to the image of space folding around the alien vessels. The luminary don't just have better technology. They operate on principles we barely understand. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Humanity had prepared for first contact with beings who might have better ships, more advanced weapons, or superior technology. But this was different. The luminary wielded space-time itself as a tool. What are our options, Admiral? Council President Meek's voice cut through the chaos. The Pathfinder's encounter could be interpreted as either a warning or an invitation. Zhang activated another hologram, showing the crystallization effect that had nearly claimed the Pathfinder. Our scientists have been analyzing the data Captain Chen transmitted. The luminary didn't attack our ship. They were attempting to upgrade it. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stepped forward. The crystallization pattern matches theoretical models for quantum crystalline computing. They weren't trying to destroy the Pathfinder. They were trying to evolve it. Evolve it? Someone asked. Into what? Into something that could travel as they do, Rodriguez explained. The process stopped when they received our historical database. They realized we weren't ready for such advancement. It would be like giving fusion technology to a civilization that had just discovered fire. Zhang nodded, which brings us to our response. The luminary left us with coordinates, locations where they say we can learn. But they've made it clear. We must choose to learn or choose to remain as we are. President Mbik leaned forward. And if we choose to learn, then we commit to something unprecedented, Zhang replied. We'd be accepting student status from a civilization that could reshape our ships with a thought. Our pride might suffer, but the potential benefits. Or it could be a trap. General Collins interrupted. They could be luring us in, waiting until we're vulnerable. Rodriguez shook her head. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. The Pathfinder sensors recorded them manipulating fundamental forces we can barely detect, let alone control. Zhang raised his hand for silence. There's something else. The luminary sent us this. He activated a final hologram, showing a series of mathematical equations that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Our computers have been working on it for days. It's not a weapon or a threat. It's a test. A test of what? Mbik asked. Our willingness to learn, Rodriguez answered, her eyes gleaming as she studied the equations. Look at the pattern. Each solution leads to another question, but they're not random. They're teaching us their language, the language of quantum mathematics. Zhang let that sink in. We have a choice to make. We can retreat, fortify our borders, and hope the luminary leave us alone. Or we can take this opportunity to advance our understanding by centuries, maybe millennia. The council chamber buzzed with discussion. Humanity stood at a crossroads. Their first instinct had always been to meet any challenge with force, to assert their independence and strength. But the luminary offered something different, a chance to learn and grow, to understand the universe in ways they had never imagined. There's one more thing, Zhang added quietly. The Pathfinder's quantum sensors recorded something else during the encounter. The luminary aren't alone out there. There are other civilizations, other ways of manipulating space-time, some far less benevolent. President Mbik stood, her decision made. Then we learn, not just for our advancement, but for our survival. Humanity has always adapted, always evolved. We won't stop now. Zhang nodded, relief visible on his face. I'll begin assembling a team. We'll need our best and brightest, scientists, engineers, theorists. The Luminaries test isn't just about mathematics. It's about proving we can think beyond our current limitations. As the council session ended, Zhang found himself staring at the shifting equations. Humanity had often dreamed of reaching the stars, of proving themselves among alien civilizations. They had imagined it would be through strength of arms or technological advancement. Instead, their greatest achievement might be the wisdom to recognize when to set aside pride and embrace the role of student. The real test was just beginning. First steps into light. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at her reflection in the crystalline surface of what had once been a standard quantum computer. The device had transformed itself 2 hours ago, after they finally solved the last equation in the Luminaries test. Now it pulsed with the same ethereal light as their ships. Recording log entry 47. She spoke into her comm. The crystallization process appears stable. Unlike the attempted transformation of the Pathfinder, this was controlled, deliberate. We didn't just solve their equations, we learned to speak their language. Behind her, the research facility buzzed with activity. The best minds from Earth had spent months decoding the Luminaries' mathematical puzzles, each solution revealing new insights into the fundamental nature of space-time. Dr. Rodriguez, her assistant, called out, "You need to see this." The crystalline computer had begun projecting images into the air, not holograms, but actual folds in space-time that showed other places, other moments. Through these windows, they saw the Luminaries' world for the first time. Their civilization existed in spaces between spaces, entire cities built in folds of reality. The crystalline structures weren't just their ships or technology. They were extensions of space-time itself, shaped by thought and mathematics. "They're showing us everything," Rodriguez whispered. "Their history, their development, their mistakes." She paused, noting how the images lingered on catastrophic failures, entire regions of space, twisted into impossible geometries by early experiments. The message was clear. This knowledge came with responsibility. A new figure appeared in the facility. A luminary, its crystalline form shifting between states of matter. The being had emerged from one of the spatial windows, the first to make direct contact since the Pathfinder incident. "You learn quickly," it communicated, not through sound, but through patterns of light and space that their transformed computer translated. Faster than expected. Dangerous. Rodriguez approached the being, her heart racing, but her mind clear. "We understand the warnings in your history. Knowledge without wisdom leads to catastrophe." The luminary's form rippled in what might have been approval. "Your species sees patterns, uses them, creates them. But you force, break, tear. We teach flow, bend, weave." More images appeared, showing humanity's current method of space travel. Brute force through normal space, contrasted with the luminary's elegant folding of reality. The quantum computer, Rodriguez gestured to the crystalline device. "You didn't give us the final transformation equation. You wanted us to discover it ourselves. Tools given are tools misused," the luminary responded. "Tools earned are tools respected." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. On every screen, sensors showed massive disturbances in local spacetime. The luminary's form became rigid, its colors shifting to what they had learned to recognize as concern. "Others come," it communicated urgently. "Those who break, not bend. Who take, not learn. Your system detected. Your potential seen." Rodriguez felt a chill. The hostile civilizations Admiral Zhang warned about. Worse, the Void Makers. They unmake space, reject flow, create nothing, destroy everything. Through the spatial windows, they saw them. Massive tears in reality, not elegant folds like the luminary created, but brutal rips in the fabric of space-time. Through these wounds in reality came ships that seemed to absorb light itself. How long do we have? Rodriguez asked, already moving to alert Earth's defenses. Time flows differently for them. Days, maybe less. They will come to unmake your potential. The luminary turned to leave, but Rodriguez called out, "Wait. Will you help us?" The being's response was unexpected. "We cannot fight. Not our way. But you. Your species learns, adapts, combines. Old force with new knowledge. Perhaps," it paused, its crystalline form shimmering. "Perhaps you will teach us." As the luminary vanished through its spatial window, Rodriguez looked at the transformed quantum computer, still showing images of both the elegant mathematics of space-time manipulation and the brutal tears created by the approaching void makers. Humanity had wanted to learn from advanced aliens, to elevate themselves through knowledge. Now they'd faced a greater challenge, finding a way to combine their inherent strength and determination with their new understanding of reality itself. The void makers were coming, and humanity would need to prove they could be more than just students. They needed to become innovators in a war that would be fought with mathematics as much as weapons. The innovation of war. Commander James Chen, son of the Pathfinder's captain, stood aboard humanity's first hybrid warship, the ESS Prometheus. The vessel represented humanity's unique approach to the coming conflict, a combination of traditional human military technology and their newly acquired understanding of space-time manipulation. "Status report on the quantum crystal integration," he ordered, watching as the ship's conventional hull rippled with patches of luminescent crystalline structures. 70% coverage, Commander," Lieutenant Santos replied from her station. "The crystal matrix is adapting to our shield emitters exactly as Dr. Rodriguez predicted. We're seeing a 300% increase in defensive capabilities." Unlike pure luminary vessels, the Prometheus wasn't entirely crystalline. Humanity had taken a different approach, creating a hybrid system that combined their traditional energy weapons and kinetic armaments with the ability to manipulate local spacetime. "Voidmaker vessels detected," the sensor officer announced. 3 tiers in reality opening at coordinates Mark 739. Through the bridge viewport, Chen watched as space itself seemed to split open dark wounds in reality through which emerged ships that seemed to drink in light. The Voidmakers had arrived earlier than expected. "Battle stations," Chen ordered. "Begin quantum crystal combat protocols." The Prometheus's crystal segments pulsed with energy as the ship prepared for humanity's first engagement with the Voidmakers. They had one advantage: the enemy wouldn't expect their hybrid approach to warfare. "Sir, they're doing something to local space," Santos reported, her voice tense. Reality cohesion dropping in a spherical pattern around their vessels. Chen nodded grimly. Just as the luminary warned, they don't just destroy ships, they unmake the space they occupy. He activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, execute Operation Mobius." The Prometheus's crystal segments flared brilliantly as the ship enacted humanity's first major innovation in space-time warfare. Instead of trying to maintain normal space against the Voidmakers' attacks, they deliberately created a loop in local reality, a Mobius strip of space-time that had no true inside or outside. Void effects unable to propagate through the Mobius configuration, Santos reported with barely contained excitement. Their unmake effect can't find purchase on looped space. The Voidmakers' ships reacted immediately, adjusting their attack. Dark energy beams lanced out, attempting to tear apart the Prometheus's innovative defense. "They're adapting," Chen noted. "Time for Phase 2. Prepare the mass drivers." This was the true genius of humanity's hybrid approach. While the crystal technology maintained their Mobius space-time defense, the ship's conventional mass drivers powered up. The Voidmakers, expecting purely energy-based or reality-warping attacks, weren't prepared for simple kinetic weapons enhanced by space-time manipulation. "Mass drivers charge," Weapons Officer Park announced. "Reality torpedoes armed." "Fire." The Prometheus launched its attack. Regular tungsten projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds, but each one was encased in a bubble of twisted space-time created by the ship's crystal segments. When these reality torpedoes struck the Voidmaker's vessels, the twisted space-time bubbles collapsed, creating localized implosions that their reality-destroying technology couldn't defend against. Direct hits on 2 enemy vessels, Park reported. Their space-time disruption fields are collapsing. The third Voidmaker ship attempted to retreat, tearing open another hole in reality. But the Prometheus was ready. "Execute Operation Pandora," Chen commanded. The ship's crystal segments pulsed in a complex pattern, creating a cascade of space-time folds that trapped the enemy vessel's tier, preventing its escape. Caught between normal space and their own reality tier, the Voidmaker ship began to break apart. "Enemy vessels neutralize," Santos confirmed. "Sir, we actually did it. We beat them." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "No, Lieutenant. We did more than beat them. We proved something the Luminary didn't expect. That sometimes the best way forward isn't to abandon the old ways for the new, but to find ways to make them work together." As recovery teams began collecting debris from the Voidmaker vessels for study, Shen received a transmission from Earth. Dr. Rodriguez's face appeared on his screen, her expression both excited and concerned. "Commander, congratulations on the victory. But our quantum sensors are detecting more tiers forming throughout the sector, much larger ones." Chen straightened in his chair. "How many ships?" "Not ships, Commander. Fleets. The Voidmakers aren't just sending raiders anymore. They're launching an invasion." The Prometheus had proven humanity's hybrid technology could work, but now they faced a much greater challenge. Teaching these techniques to the rest of Earth's fleet before the main Voidmaker force arrived. They had won the first battle, but the real war was just beginning. A new understanding. Admiral Sarah Chen, the former captain of the Pathfinder, stood in Earth's combined fleet command center, watching as reality tiers opened across human space. The main Voidmaker invasion force had arrived, hundreds of their light-absorbing vessels emerging from wounds in spacetime. But humanity wasn't facing them alone. "Luminary vessels detected," her sensor officer reported. They're everywhere." The crystalline ships of the Luminary emerged from their elegant spacetime folds, taking positions alongside Earth's hybrid fleet. After witnessing humanity's innovative fusion of traditional technology and spacetime manipulation, the Luminary had realized something profound about their own civilization. They had become too specialized, too dependent on a single approach to existence. "The Luminary fleet is signaling," communications reported. "They're ready to implement the Bradley Protocol." Chen nodded, remembering the young physicist who had proposed the daring strategy. Dr. Bradley had realized that the Voidmaker's greatest strength, their ability to unmake space, could become their greatest weakness if approached correctly. "Signal all ships," Chen ordered. "Begin the protocol." Across space, human hybrid vessels moved into formation with their Luminary allies. The crystalline ships created complex space-time folds while human vessels prepared their conventional weapons. What happened next would either save both their civilizations or doom them all. "Voidmaker fleet is launching their unmake effect," Tactical reported. Reality cohesion dropping across all sectors. Chen watched as the enemy's signature attack began breaking down the fabric of space-time itself. But this time, they were ready for it. "All ships, execute Bradley Protocol. Now." The human hybrid ships activated their mass drivers, launching thousands of specially prepared projectiles. As these weapons entered the areas of unmaking space, the Luminary vessels used their mastery of space-time to do something unprecedented. They began folding reality around the unmade regions, creating a cascade of spatial origami that turned the Voidmaker's attack back on itself. "It's working," her science officer exclaimed. "The unmaking effect is being channeled through the folds. The Voidmakers are being trapped in their own disrupted space." The enemy fleet realized too late what was happening. Their attempts to tear reality apart were being redirected through the Luminary's complex folds, guided by human weapons to create a closed loop of unmade space around their own vessels. Enemy ships attempting to open escape tiers, Tactical reported. Not this time, Chen said firmly. All ships deploy the quantum anchors. This was humanity's other great innovation. Devices that combined conventional gravitational technology with crystal space manipulation to prevent the formation of reality tiers. The void makers found themselves trapped in normal space, their own unmaking effect corrupted and turned against them. One by one, the massive enemy fleet began to disappear, their ships consumed by their own weapons as the Bradley Protocol reached its culmination. In less than an hour, the greatest threat either civilization had faced was eliminated. But the true victory wasn't the defeat of the void makers. As the battle ended, Chen received a transmission from the Luminary flagship. The crystalline being that appeared on her screen was one she recognized, the same one that had first tested humanity's worthiness to learn. "Your species has taught us something profound," the Luminary communicated. "We thought mastery of space-time was the pinnacle of advancement. But you showed us that true wisdom lies in diversity of approach, in finding ways to make different methods work together." Chen smiled. "And you taught us that strength isn't just about force or technology. It's about understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself." "Perhaps," the Luminary suggested, "it is time for both our peoples to become students again. We have much to learn from each other." As cleanup operations began, Chen looked at the data streaming in from across human space. The hybrid technology that had saved them was already evolving, with human engineers and Luminary spaceshapers working together to create new innovations that neither civilization could have developed alone. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not just through force of arms or advanced technology, but through the uniquely human ability to adapt, to innovate, and to find strength in combining seemingly incompatible approaches. The void makers had sought to unmake reality. Instead, they had helped forge a partnership that would reshape it in ways neither humanity nor the Luminary had imagined possible. As Chen looked out at the combined fleet, human ships and crystalline vessels working together to heal the wounds in space-time, she realized that this wasn't just a victory, it was a beginning. The true potential of both civilizations was just starting to unfold. The universe, it seemed, had much more to teach them, and this time, they would learn together.